Greetings, everyone. Greetings. So we are here on Manifestation Wednesdays. This is your host, Tony. I hope you are doing well within your space and time. I mentioned time. There's only 1,440 minutes in a day. No matter what your belief system is or who you may pray to, you're not going to get even 1 minute more added to your life. So I'm actually jumping a little bit ahead here. So let's roll this back.
This enchanted lullaby.
There is no truth until you decide what truth is, and each person should find that truth out for his or herself.
This enchanted lullaby. This enchanted lullaby.
You know what? Global family, look in the mirror. I want you to take a good look. You are the champion, the hero of your story. No matter how much praise you may give some of us who may help you on this journey, it is you who has to walk it. We are only a catalyst to help you see.
Tony, again, I give you accolades for, I don't even know what to say, for all the efforts, man, that you put in my behalf.
There is no truth until you decide what truth is.
It is you who has to walk it. We are only a catalyst to help you see.
Person should find that truth out for his or herself.
To help you see.
For his or herself.
All right, greetings everyone. Greetings. I should be coming through loud and clear. I kind of jumped off, getting into, there's a lot to discuss today. We have quite a few guests as well who will be sharing with us. So kind of jumped way ahead before I even played the intros. So I'm going to mention this a few times during tonight's podcast. This week, we've been working on a very special thought form. I'm not going to tell you all what it is, but you will see it across the plane, okay? So you should start seeing it later this week. Some evidence of it is already showing all around us. And so it's a wonderful thought form, and it'd be obvious. I think to many of you all are very astute. And if you see something, this is a bit odd, a bit different than the norm on social media, maybe even on the news, you'll be like, what is that? You know, you just pay attention, okay? Pay attention this weekend, pay attention also during next week. You're going to notice something, right? And so some of the vibrations of it, of what some of the Meta Center members have been planning now for a few months, are starting to show across the realm. And so I'm going to show just some outwardly evidence of it later on during the monologue of the broadcast, okay? So I hope all of you are doing well within your space. I already said the whole space and time thing. So I hope you have also your favorite beverage of choice. My beverage tonight is actually some Rubik's tea. So I see some people there have their Charles in the YouTube chat says he has some alkaline water. So I hope you have your favorite beverage of choice as we begin our conversation. So let's see here. All right. So we're pretty much going to get straight into it here in a moment. Okay. Had a bunch of notes for today and everything else. And also, we're going to see if I'm going to end up utilizing it today due to you all's continued patronage. Got some really nice educational tools to utilize. So if a demonstration ends up needing to be done during tonight's broadcast, I'll be able to do it. And so it's pretty much like a smart board. And so we'll be utilizing it for, of course, the classes that many of you participate in online. And so it's really nice, you know what I'm saying, due to you all's continued patronage. So appreciate all of that. Let's see here. So, oh yeah, let me give you all a heads up. So for those who may have interest in attending the Georgia atmospheric launch, and that's concerning Project Etheric, that will be, of course, I'm about to put on the screen here for those who do not know what Project Etheric is. Already in Illinois, we sent up a atmospheric balloon that went up about 25 to 30 miles. It's really in the 27-ish range, but let's say 25 to 30 miles up in the air. Okay, went up into the upper stratosphere. And so that happened on July 31st, literally a few weeks ago. And so the next launch will be on, it'll be the end of September. And we are aiming for the weekend of September 25th. The 25th is on a Saturday. And so it'll more than likely be that Saturday. So you could kind of plan for it. Again, this is the Georgia. More information will be had in the coming weeks of exactly where, because I'm still plotting where it needs to be, because we don't want the payload, which is the equipment, going into the ocean. Okay, so it can't be near the ocean at all. As many of you know who listened and watched the footage that we do have on this YouTube channel of the actual event, it went 83 miles away. So we were in Illinois, and I ended up having to drive into the middle of the state of Indiana and walk into a cornfield. So yeah, so we're going to try to make it as a clean launch as possible. So again, it's going to be toward the end of September. I look forward to seeing those who will be present at that time. All right. Anything else before we get straight into it here? Looks like all of our participants are they here. Let's see. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, 4 of the 5 are here. Okay, 4 of the 5. So, excellent. Excellent. So it looks like most of them are here. So let's actually get straight into it tonight. So, let us begin. According to the Christian Bible within Genesis, in the beginning, in this space, there was an entity. For simplicity, let us call this entity God. This God created heaven and earth. And through this process, this God stated a few things. One of them was, let there be light, and the outcome of which there was light. The word. Spoken words are a melody of vibration. A clashing of frequencies when spoke bring about certain changes. These changes can be as major as creating a world or as minor as ordering your meal in the drive-thru of your favorite restaurant. Words are made up of letters. These letters each have a meaning and a sound. When you combine together these letters that each individually have a meaning and a sound, you create a word. When you string together words, you have a sentence. When multiple sentences are flowing between two or more people, this is called a conversation. As we begin our conversation tonight, as it springs together because of a word. So, our first brave soul to join us tonight, will you unmute your phone? Wavelin? I want you to say your name one more time for me so I can pronounce that correctly.
Oh, sure. It's Wyvelin.
Wyvelin. Okay.
Yes.
Just give me one moment here. Let me turn this machine off. One moment.
Sure.
Okay. All right. So, let's give Wyvelin a hand clap for being with us tonight. So, just for clarity, for the audience sake, where are you from? What state are you?
I'm from Texas.
Texas. Okay. And what brings you on the show tonight?
Okay, well, pretty much, I had a question for Manifestation Wednesday, and I wanted to get some feedback.
The floor is yours.
Okay, awesome. So I guess my question is, I'm trying to, some insight. I'm trying to better understand myself in this life so that I can, be prosperous and continue to do things that I want to achieve. So within that, I've noticed that I feel like I'm trying to get the person on the inside to align with the person on the outside, if you can see what I'm saying, so that I can just kind of be in oneness. Does that make sense?
Okay.
Yeah. So my question is, what are some things I can do, or I guess focus points of meditations that I can use to help me to attain that, oneness that I'm trying to get, so that when I present myself to people, I don't seem like I'm conflicted, or I don't feel conflicted within myself.
All right. Let's put that down. Okay, so first, astrologically, you are an Aquarius, right? So,
Yes.
which is an air sign. Okay, air signs are typically, this goes across the board for all air signs, they typically are more in their head, or tend to be more in their head than other signs. Okay, so if I were to say you're always in your head thinking of all possibilities that can be, and which ends up causing you to either overextend yourself or end up maybe not taking advantage of certain opportunities because of the overthinking of certain situations. Does that happen at all?
Yes, that is very correct.
Oh, okay. How would I know that? I don't know you. Okay. All right. So let's narrow it down. So let's be a bit more specific here. Give me an example of something either you're trying to achieve or a situation that you were in that you felt that alignment could have been better internally.
Okay, well, actually, this pertains to something I'm actually doing right now. So I recently, I have a private office and I'm working on marketing. And I have great ideas for videos and what I can do, but it's very hard for me to bring myself to make a video. And I'm not one to be in front of the camera. I like to kind of be behind the scenes doing stuff like that. But again, this is my business. I knew I would have to do that. So I need to kind of get rid of the fear of, I guess, putting my foot forward. I don't know what it is within myself that's holding me back from wanting to present myself to the world how I need to.
You do know. Don't say you don't know something. Most of us, when we say those things, we actually really do know those answers, but sometimes we are apprehensive or sometimes even afraid to admit what that answer actually is.
Mm.
Most of the time, like in a situation like you just named,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of times it deals with acceptance. Because we have a hard time accepting ourselves, we feel a certain way out in public because others may display what we internally feel, and most of the people who tend to feel that way, it actually is not the case. That's only you. That's something internally that you're feeling. If you are presenting yourself the best version of yourself, right? Let's say, especially if you worked hard or something, right? So you're very studious, you're very knowledgeable in the subject matter of what you're doing. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
If
Yes.
this, because some people, they may feel that way and they shouldn't, but they also are not studious. They also are jumping way ahead even of themselves. So when they present themselves, they are all over the place, everything else, which could look bad on themselves, right? But I'm not talking about that type of person. Right? So especially if you're the type of person who is studious, who knows what she's talking about, who is comfortable in the knowledge of what you know what to talk about, right? And then it becomes where the apprehension is really all in your head. And you are projecting it outward. Now, what you project outward, because thoughts are things, what you project outward, you may get that feedback back. But it's not because people are sitting here just looking at you and judging you in a certain way. It's because of that energy that you put out in the first place. Because we are much more powerful than many of us would actually want to realize. Okay, so
train yourself to let go of everything you fear to lose.
Okay, so do you understand what I'm saying thus far?
I know exactly what you're saying. It's so interesting that you chose a Yoda voice too, though. That's why I'm laughing. But it's true though, because I know okay, so I don't want to say I don't know, but I guess I am apprehensive about whatever it is that I'm, I guess it's a fear of being judged, so to speak, because I am so much in my head. So I just need to do like the Nike logo says and just do it and quit overthinking everything.
Truly indeed. A lot of times you'd be surprised. First off, some of the let's say the greatest people in their field. So let's say like actors, for example, okay? Even though we may see them acting totally channeling, because acting is really channeling, just for those who don't know, but they are actively in that character and like, this is amazing. They, on the other hand, especially at first, may not feel they are doing their best, right? But at the end, everybody will stand up and give them applause, standing ovation, right? Because they did it so well, but in themselves, they doubted themselves until eventually, later on in their, let's say, acting career, you can see an adjustment that happened where they become comfortable with literally who they are. Okay? And so, I mean, it's a common theme in a society that is a judgmental type of society, all right? And so those types of self-criticisms do happen. But let me also tell you this, though. The self-criticism also shows on the other side of the coin that you are a being that is a cut above the rest. Because many people do not have that that self-criticizing, or that ability to look within themselves and see maybe a flaw, right? And be able to say, you know what, I see that I lack here. Let me work on that so it could be better and strength. You know, so a lot of people actually don't have that at all. Okay, and so because you have the ability to actually have that, those parts of you that could be stronger, you will actually make stronger. But the whole thing is, you just don't want to over analyze and criticize yourself, because now you're going to cause yourself destruction.
Right, right. And I do tend to be, you know, kind of hard on myself when it comes to things like that, as far as, you know, changing, because things about me, I know I'm slow to change. So I always have to kind of break things down and really understand it. How am I going to do this, and how am I going to do that, and put it into play. Um, so that definitely makes perfect sense there. And as far as being cut above the rest, I definitely resonate with that, because a lot of the times I feel that just dealing with, you know, business to business or regular people as a consumer here, it's a lack of, um, number one, Black excellence. But like you say, it people have to strive to want to actually fill that lack or fill that gap, and I don't encounter that a lot, unfortunately.
So, at least at this point, do you feel that with that question that you asked, you came on for, do you feel that it has been answered?
Yeah, I do. It really was just confirmation. Like, you need to get out your head. Like, my boyfriend tells me that all the time, but you know, you hear it from a regular person, you're just like, whatever, you don't know. But now for me, it's just like, all right, I just need to stop thinking and just do it. I'll have all the tools that I need. And there's no room for self-doubt, error, or anything like that. Just go for it. I already started.
Yes, queen.
Thank
Okay.
you.
So the thing about it is that yes, remember, I don't know you. I never met you. Only time we spoke was earlier to confirm, you know, your submission to be on the show, and that's
Correct.
it. Okay. And so yet I'm telling you something that only you and maybe close people that know, something that's only, even that, only something that's in your head, and yet
Right.
is being said out loud, and you're confirming that. So look at this confirmation as the rocket you need to propel you forward.
Facts. I
Facts.
definitely am. Definitely am, and I thank you.
Excellent. Thank you.
Yes, queen. Yes.
All right. So, all right. One down, a few more to go. All right. So first again, everyone in the chat room on YouTube, I hope all of you are doing well. More and more people are joining us right now, and so we have quite a bit. So we're going to go through the callers here. And then once we finish with the callers, depending upon what time it is, it will be open lines even for you all in the YouTube side to join in the conversation on the Zoom side, to voice whatever you may have, or you can type it out in the chat room if you choose to. And then I will be getting into a monologue about a different aspect of manifestation. So last week we got into aspects of loosh and how loosh is generated. Well, we're going to kind of go deeper a little bit into that, but also from other angles. And so, yeah, so that's just that. So the next brave soul who is joining us this evening is, let's see here, who's next here? And again, for those also in the Zoom side, if you stay on the show, you know, later when I do open it up, if it's time to open it up, if you do have any other things that come to your mind, you can ask another question if that time comes. So, the next caller here is Herschel. Okay, Herschel, mute yourself.
Hello, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Okay, so for the audience's sake, what state are you calling from, Herschel?
I'm calling from Houston, Texas. I mean,
Oh,
Dallas, Texas. I'm sorry.
okay, Dallas, Texas. So, what brings you on the show today, Herschel?
Well, what brings me on the show? My question might be a little different, but I'm gonna ask it. I was asking, how would I go about manifesting an opportunity to join a magical or ethereal school to learn and take my spiritual abilities to the next level?
I think you already manifested that.
Really?
You're literally having a conversation with the mediciner who, uh, we do all types of things. Okay, we have superhuman classes. We sending stuff out into space, the whole 9 yards. So, um, I'm gonna give you another shot for another question. That's the only question you had, because that was a little bit too some forethought would have.
Question. You know what? Yeah, I asked another question. I guess a question in my mind: How do you hmm, how do you remain attached to necessarily be there for family members and have empathy, but be not necessarily so attached to where whatever's going on with them bothers you? How do you create a barrier or a shield, if that makes sense?
Okay, so and now this is a known bit of maybe training, if you want to call it,
Okay.
that's known in Buddhism, and it deals with detachment. Okay, but even though they may have codified it for it to be an actual discipline
Mm-hmm.
within their whatever I'm going to call it, religion or spiritual practices, okay, that is a known thing that happens when either one person has trauma, right? They have
Mm-hmm.
so much trauma that they detach from reality, but that's a negative way of detaching. Or number two, they are progressing through the levels on their spiritual path, right? And naturally, you start to see, for example, one starts to see that people have to live their lives, and there's nothing you can do about it.
Okay.
You understand what I'm saying? There's nothing, even though, let's say, there's a loved one who is making, let's say, crazy decisions, right?
Yeah.
Only thing you can be there for is to try to, especially if it's a loved one where you would put in that extra energy. We're not talking about a stranger necessarily on the street, and to be there and say, hey, you shouldn't do that, X, Y, Z reason, and so on and so forth. But you don't want to become so invested in it. And it's quite interesting that you brought this up, because in the monologue that will be happening shortly, it's going to deal with that a little bit, but from the aspect of controlling the energies that you accept. So from the reverse. Okay. So with that, it's easier said than done, especially if you care or love someone. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so it's not like something I could just tell you and it would just be. Okay, most time it would never happen like that. It's something that in time is continuing to meditate every single day, right? And ponder on the relationships and ties that you have specifically with people, and why you have those ties, and are those ties even healthy? Okay, are they healthy? Are they not healthy? And if they're not healthy, why is the tie so strong? In your own mind, in your own space, you explore that, okay? And in the exploration of your own feelings in your ties, you begin to understand why they're there, and if you need to naturally allow them to dissipate, or if you need to bring them closer.
Okay.
It's easier said than done, especially if it's depending upon how strong that bond is between you and that someone or somebody's. So I'm already
Okay.
pre-warning you.
Okay. Okay.
So
And
with that,
that helped me out a lot, and that'll be the answer to my question. Thank you so much.
okay. Well, do appreciate that.
My man.
And stay on the show. If there's open lines, maybe something else will come up later. But what I would say to anyone here, of course, Herschel's first, and thank you for the call, Herschel. Herschel's first question, well, that's why I had him ask another question. His first one was, how do I manifest pretty much to be a part of a magical school or something like that, right? And many of you know, the Meta Center is into all types of stuff, right? You all know this for a fact. We put even those things on display in the superhuman classes that many of you have come to, but many of you have not, but you have heard of them. We do telepathy exercises. I show actual proof, which this is going to get into in a little bit later here in the monologue, some other things as well that kind of deal with this, but show actual proof of things that you wouldn't even believe. Okay, like the 100th monkey effect and stuff like that. Okay, actual proof that it actually is real and things like nature. And it's not for, let's say, me, because many of the experiments I'm the one who brought them out. It's for you, so you can see. So it's no more doubting or anything like that, and everything else. So you gotta be careful, which is gonna get into the monologue later. But you have to be very careful of people making claims that they actually cannot back up at all. Okay, and we're going to get deep into that because that actually messes with your manifestation. And I'm going to tell you why. I'm going to write something down real quick. Next caller here is going to be Atina and then Porter. Okay, so after Atina, it will be Porter. So one moment here. Let me just write something down. All right. Okay. So, Atina, can you unmute your phone for us?
Hello.
Okay. Greetings. How you doing, Atina?
I'm good. I hope you're doing all right.
I'm all right. Now, before we even begin, now we spoke earlier and we spoke before, right? And you did something earlier, right? And I'm going to tell you something. I noticed this earlier, but I didn't say anything. You sound different than you did previously. How do you actually feel?
I feel pretty good.
You do?
Besides for that, yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay. So, for the audience's sake, what brings you, what state are you in?
North Carolina.
Okay. And what brings you on the show today?
Today, I was on the show before, and you had gave me some tips. I only took one of them so far, and that was to change the color of clothing I wear from like all black to mauve, and I chose lavenders, and that's all of that. That's good. Like everybody been like noticing the color change because I was that part was good. I didn't go talk to a therapist or anything, but I was feeling pretty good. But the one thing that was bothering me was about getting a shot, and I was real adamant about not getting it, but I ended up taking the first one today because I felt like I was running out of options, and so I went ahead and took it, and I cried the whole time while I took it, but I did do it.
I'm glad that you brought this up because I wasn't going to say anything at all unless you did. So continue on. Continue, because that's not actually a question, so you just kind of more so made a comment, but continue on. Is there actually a question, or is it really just a release?
Well, the comment that the reason why I wanted to be on the show again was to let you know, like, even though I only took one of, two of them, meditate, and I already do that on a regular basis. So I been doing that and the changing the colors, and like I did see up and I did see a different aspect up until like today when I call it punked out for the shot. But the other part, like as far as like the last time when I called, I asked the question, should I be in a relationship? And like now I can actually see that I shouldn't be in a relationship, not right now, because it's not good for me, and I need to focus more on myself.
I'm glad that you see that for yourself, because one thing is if anybody can say anything they want to say, but you need to see what is happening within yourself so that you can make those important changes to be the best version that you can be, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So, okay, so I'm going to make a couple comments here. So for the audience's sake, even though that what you said was it's more of a expression, right? You just expressed that you've noticed some difference in the color suggestion, okay? And you come to even some self-realizations because of those suggestions at this point, right? But one of the biggest, which is fantastic, so let's give you a...
Yes, queen.
Okay, and so, but, okay, so for the audience's sake, I'm going to use certain words like, you'll know what I'm talking about as I go along. So, Atina, our guest here, one of her jobs was asking the employees to get what we know is happening, right? But she didn't have to right then. Okay, it wasn't like she had to get it like today or she would have no job. She had time. And so for whatever reason, she decided to go there. And when she was there, she had mentioned that she had sat down and she started crying. And even whoever was about to give her that, what we know is, even asked her, are you sure you want to do this right now? Remember, her job it's not like the job is saying, even people who do it for their job, whatever, not saying you have to get it right now today or you're not going to have a job. So she had time. And even the spirit was working in someone that told her. So you have to also recognize I want to call them opportunities, but one has to not be in their emotions to such a high degree that one cannot see what may be taking place around them that could potentially help them. So, an example, as she was sitting there again, this person asked, are you sure you want to do this? And so she could have said, no, what? I'll do this later. I don't have to do this right now. And she would not have, because I'm about to show you also something, because, again, well, why jump into the pot of fire if you don't have to right at that time, right? And so even she had mentioned that she even at the time, because she felt something was off with it, she tried to call a bunch of people, I guess, for moral support, right? For them to tell her, don't do it, then she would have got up and left. Because she could not get in contact with those people, she ended up doing it. But she didn't have to. So when it comes to spiritual warfare, first off, spiritual warfare is real, especially if you're coming from a religious background. Okay, no matter what religion you are, whether you the main three, Christian, Muslim, or even part of the Judaism crowd, still all of them have major spiritual aspects, regardless if you believe it or not. And in short, spiritual warfare is real. And so, but also not just the warfare between the sides of the coin, but also the helpers. If you believe that the spirit world is real, then there are helpers who would try to. They can't make you do something, but they can suggest. It's up to you to be aware enough to be able to hear that suggestion. And so it's kind of interesting she did that. Now, when I called her to confirm the show, I called her literally 5 minutes after it happened. Now, she might not notice, but she sounds different to me than the first time we spoke. That's why I asked, is she okay? So, and I noticed that immediately when I picked up the phone. I was going to say, because I thought she was, well, nevertheless, that's just that. So, what I want to, and thank you all for the super chats. There are people putting in super chats here in the chat room. I do appreciate that. So, we're going to get into some deep stuff tonight. So, and I'm going to show you why that you just don't let things necessarily just go on forever. But if you don't have to do something that's drastic like that, remember, you don't want anything breaking your skin, okay? And we're going to get into why from a different metaphysical perspective. And just as a disclaimer, everything we talk about on the show, we may give some real world just examples of things, but it's just a coincidence if it seems that we're actually talking about the real world. Everything here is metaphysical. This is a metaphysical conversation, and if something seems very similar or like I'm talking about something in the real world, that is just a coincidence. Okay? So I'm about to show you an image here. So first image I'm going to show you here, you should see it on the screen now, is from OSHA. Okay, OSHA, of course, many of you know in your workplace, all over the place. Well, it's pretty much in most workplaces, even in jobs that is office-related jobs. You'll have an OSHA in the employee break room or something like that. You'll have an OSHA poster on the wall. And OSHA just announced employers who mandate the issue may be held liable for any adverse reaction. And this was posted on May 19th, 2021. That's directly from OSHA. So this is the thing. One thing is if there was a weapon towards someone's head and they're making someone do something. I mean, you know, that's your decision. One thing is if, like literally they say you're going to be fired right now. In many cases, many legal experts are saying that if that's the case, let them fire you. Because you actually have a case and you can sue the crap out of them, in short. Okay, but you have to let them fire you. Okay, you cannot prematurely quit, or you cannot do what they're asking, because what they're asking you to do is against literally the law, period. And you could Google it. I'm giving you enough information for anyone in the audience to Google yourself, okay? So I'm showing you an example here of OSHA, what they said directly. And I'm going to show you also what's happening in New York here. And thank you, shout out to you know who you are, who came with this right before the show, because yeah, we could use on the show for others to see. So right now there are all over New York, there are people out starting to massively protest because of the passports and stuff like that, right? I'm also going to show you something else. I'm about to share my screen, and you're going to see something else, and this one is in Chicago. See, that's why you don't want to jump prematurely. Now, just so you know, these things that are happening is partially due to what the organization that you love, right? The different metaphysical kung fus that are happening in the background, all right? And you're going to see a major one later this week, okay? So there are many, well, there are at least one that you know of for a fact that's fighting the good fight. I'll just put it like that, because there's not many. But there are some who are in one that you know specifically here, an organization here that's fighting the good fight. And that's the reason why I really appreciate you all. And it's because you're not followers, okay? We appeal to you, we purposely, metaphysically do this on purpose. We purposely appeal to your higher consciousness, okay? Not the animal brain, not the fight, flee, feed, and fornicate, okay? People who tend to want to appeal to people from that angle are typically people trying to take advantage of people. They are the muwa, okay? So we appeal to your higher consciousness, and hopefully you resonate with it, and in so you patronize, okay? And that's like saying a thank you. So we give forth more higher thought forms, you come back with more patronage, right? So it's a win-win on both angles, right? We're not trying to appeal to that animal side at all, right? And so with that, but that's the difference between followers and those who patronize. those who patronize, we're asking you, while we appeal to your higher consciousness, we're asking you to stand up. Like in the movie 300, right? Leonidas was talking to that man who was really malformed. He wanted to join the army of the 300 as a fighter. And Leonidas said to him, we require you to stand. I'm going to mute you, Atina. I'm just going to mute you real quick. Yeah, so Leonidas said to the malformed man, pretty much in short, we appreciate your effort, your wanting to slay the Persians, but we require you to stand. And because he could not stand, he just had to do menial tasks. Then he went over to the Persian side and betrayed the Spartans. And the supposed God king, but he said to him, I don't require you to stand. I just require that you kneel. Okay? It's much easier to kneel than to stand. It's much easier to fall down than to stand up. It's much easier to go downhill than to go uphill. Okay? Many people that you see all around who hold this pestilence, they actually want, and they have followers, and they want followers because they want to be looked at as God kings and God queens. Okay? They want everyone to bend the knee. Know the difference. Okay? In giving, when he went to this supposed Persian God king, and whose name was Xerxes, it was like Xerxes or something like that, right? What did Xerxes do? He appealed to his lower animal consciousness by kneeling. He said he'd give him anything he wants, money, and specifically women, okay, and things of that nature, appealing to his animal nature, okay? So stay woke, everybody. So I'm about to share my screen here of another thing. Now this is a doozy that has come out of Chicago, and thank you for, you know who you are, who shared this link to me. So I'm about to share my screen to you all. So we just even started. We haven't even got to the next caller here. Next caller is Porter. So Porter, you're going to come up next. As usual, I ask, are you enjoying the show thus far? Okay, we've only been on for about an hour, but are you enjoying the show thus far? If you are enjoying the show, hit 1 in the chat room. Okay, type 1 in the chat room if you're enjoying the show thus far. So I'm about to share my screen here so you can see something very specific. All right, one moment here. Okay, so I'm sharing my screen here. All right, so you should see a little bit better there. Okay, so you should see on the screen, this is from Fox News in Chicago, right? And it says, Chicago Police Union 100% against the mandate for officers. They say specifically, hell no.
Hell no, to the no, no, no.
Okay, this is the police saying it. Now, you know the police are gang, right? So, so if they're saying they're not going to do it, guess what? That's a really big obstacle now, okay? You see the official, you've seen it here yourself. That's why there's no need to jump into. There are some powerful. It's not a lot of Jedi. Okay, it's not a lot of Jedi. It's not a lot of old guard. Okay, but still, there's a few who are trying their best to make certain movements. Okay, and try to give people more time. Okay, so it says here, after Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot said all city employees, okay, it's not, let me show here, it should be showing on the screen. One moment here, I want to make sure you see it. Okay, there it is. You should see it on the screen now. So it says, after Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot said all city employees would absolutely be required to get it, the leading police union vowed to take action in court against if such mandate is announced. We are 100% against mandated for our members. the Chicago Fraternal Order of Police president, whose union represents rank and file police officers, said in a statement to Fox 32. The thing that we're talking about has no studies for long-term side effects or consequences. None. He continued in a similar statement to the Chicago Sun-Times on Tuesday. Okay? To mandate anybody to get this without that data as a baseline, amongst other issues, is a hell no for us. Negotiations about the specifics of a vaccine. Oh, I don't want to mention that because it gets so. And don't mention the actual names or anything like that during this podcast because it gets flagged and stuff. So, mandate are ongoing with several unions, and Lightfoot has not announced when such a requirement for some 33,000 city employees would take effect. Okay. So see, the MUWA got so arrogant that they, instead of targeting other low-hanging fruit, for whatever reason, their arrogance wanted to target pretty much their enforcement arm. Okay, because in the metaphysical world, the enforcement arm of the Draconians and Archons are these entities. Okay, so you see it for yourself. Okay, you see it for yourself. So I'm going to unshare my screen here. So, we're going to get deeper into some aspects of this from a metaphysical, from a really deep or a deeper metaphysical angle that deals with people and entities and stuff like that shortly. So let me bring back up the main screen here. All right, so that's going fine. So, Atina, back to you here. Do you understand why at times you just gotta not get nervous? Just gotta allow things to, at times, just play out. It's not like somebody's gonna literally hurt you. It's not like somebody's gonna say, somehow harm you in some way. Especially if you have time. Do you understand that?
No, I'm trying to, but I guess that go with the mistrust that, like, to a certain point, because it's ever since they said they was going to have a vaccine, I already had in my mind that I wouldn't take it. But at one job, they were showing us films, like every day we had to have a meeting, and they were showing all the unvaccinated people a video of why they should get vaccinated.
Okay, don't say that word too many times.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Well, but I've just felt like they was wearing me down.
See, and this is why, and I think I do appreciate your honesty with this, right? Because this is a growing, even though you had to subject yourself to it all, okay, still it's a growing experience, hopefully for yourself for the future, but also for many others who are listening. We are in a place where spiritual warfare most definitely is taking place. You understand what I'm saying? And you have to your spirit has to be strong, and that's why the tactics, mostly everything we talk about for years. Many of you have been listening for years, and pretty much since the Grand Master, Dr. David Blair, ascended, that's pretty much what we've been on. Strengthening your spirit, strengthening your mind and your spirit, and then your body. Okay, and so you have to meditate all the time. You have to practice. There's no point of saying you're spiritual or doing certain practices if you're not going to actually put it into effect around you. Okay, when you know that. So, for example, let me give you an example of this. Certain aspects of recognizing and think of many of you all are putting tons of super chats in there. I appreciate it. You know what I'm saying? So shout out to everybody who's putting those super chats out there. Thanks, Chuck. Thanks, Is a Queen. Thanks, Penny. Appreciate it. Most definitely. So, so going back to it. So the thing about it is that people want powers and all this other stuff, okay? And I get it. It seems, you want to be like X-Men and Doctor Strange and all that other stuff. I mean, I get that, right? But the whole thing is that there are certain prerequisites that happen well before any of that. One prerequisite that ends up happening is your ability to trust yourself. You got to be able to trust yourself. But not only just that. Be able to trust yourself without having to have the input from someone outside of you. Now, we all could use help at times. We all could use the advice of others at times. But in the end, it's only you. And in the end, you're going to have to make that decision, whatever that decision may be. And many, many more important and critical decisions are going to come for all of us. Okay? You're going to have to be strong enough to be able to withstand the pestilence. So, do you have, there's a book we have on the website called Book One Lessons. Do you have that book, Atina? Atina, do you have that book on the website? I did mute you, just so you know. Okay.
No, I don't have it.
Okay, that's a book that you actually need to work through. Okay, it's not much. It's like $14.95. Okay, and you start at lesson 1. Even if you feel you've done it before, even if you feel you don't need to do it, you do it anyway. Okay,
And what's the name of the book?
It's called Book One Lessons. That's what it's called, Book One Lessons. And you will find it under the under shop and then under books, and you will find it there. That book was written years ago specifically for these times. Okay. Also, I suggest a tea, Be Well. Okay. That tea is very strong. You don't drink that every day. Okay, maybe at this point once a week. Because I'm noticing something. Maybe you don't notice it yet, but I'm noticing it clear as day. So, and so that's just that. So I know you listened to the show for a while. So at this point, I'm going to move on to the next caller. But if any other concerns come up, if it's time, which I think at this point, because it's only 8:08 right now, so it may be time toward the end of the show. And if there's any other concerns that come up, you're welcome to voice those opinions or those concerns. And I thank you for sharing, Atina. That was very honest of you to do that. So do appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. So, okay, so I'm going to read some of this before we get, so Porter, you're up next, but I'm going to read some of the super chats real quick. Let's see here. Okay, Chuck said, keep doing the work. Okay, appreciate that. Is a Queen said, I've been following for a while, and I am very much appreciative of the clarity, enhancement, and health and knowledge that I've gained from the Meta Center. Love and light to you all. Okay, appreciate that, Is a Queen. It's kind of funny with a name like that, and I'm playing that,
Yes, Queen.
Okay, so that's hilarious. Appreciate that, Ancient, the architect. He did a super chat. Appreciate that. So, so for those who are listening right now and really want to go deeper and understand the metaphysics of what's actually taking place, we're going to get into that momentarily, okay? And you really want to listen and be around for that. All right, so Porter, you're next, okay? Porter, unmute your phone, 9808. There should be a button or something, Porter, that you hit to unmute on your end. Okay. All right, one more time, Porter. Unmute your phone, Porter. All right. Okay, there he is. Say something, Porter. It look like you are unmuted now. So you're
Yeah,
unmute. Okay, okay, there you go. Okay, I can hear you. How you doing?
doing great. How about yourself, man?
I'm okay. Can you? It sounds like you're a little bit far away. Can you maybe turn your volume up or become a little bit closer to the phone?
Yes, I'm close up on the phone. Do you hear me well now?
Uh, Still sound a bit muffled.
Okay, hold on.
We can hear the loudness, but it's not coming through clear at all.
How about now?
Okay, that's much better. Much better. So,
Hello?
yep, much better, Porter.
Okay.
Okay, so for clarity here, just for the audience's sake, what state are you calling from?
I'm calling from the Mississippi.
Mississippi. Okay, we have one from Mississippi, y'all. So appreciate you being brave enough to come on tonight. And so, what is your concern, brother?
Well, my primary concern when I thought about it and after listening to other people speak, I didn't think that that would be in order for me to speak about. So I have a secondary concern that I want to speak with you on is that I meditate a lot. And one morning I work at a portrait plant and I was coming down the loading dock after my meditation. And when I was coming down the loading dock, I was directly into the sun and something touched me in the chest and it stopped me. And when it stopped me, I was looking directly into the sun. And I stood there and looked directly into the sun and I was able to clear all those ultraviolet rays that they be talking about that the sun be projecting. And I cleared out everything and it was just a clear blue behind a disc. And I stood there and I looked at it and I looked directly into the disc. And it began to change colors. It went to silver, went to white, went to green, blue, purple. Then when it turned to green again, it turned into a green square with pink around it. And then a spiral came down from the sun. And my spirit told me, I was standing up on the rail, I was on the loading dock, so it was a rail there at the loading dock. So my spirit told me to hold on to this rail real tight and look into the spiral. So when I held on to the rail real tight and looked into the spiral manifested itself. And when it manifested itself, it told me, it said, breathe into your pineal gland. So when I breathed into my pineal gland, my spirit shot out of my body and went into that spiral. And I was holding onto the rail, so I just collapsed. When my spirit left my body, I just collapsed. And when I came back to, everybody was standing around me, and I was saying, wow, and I was telling them what happened, and everybody thought that I was crazy. I was telling them, I said, wow, I said, my spirit shot out of my body. But nobody could understand what I was saying. So they sent me to the dispensary. So when I went to the dispensary, this gentleman, he looked at me. He was checking me out to see if I was high or anything like that. And he was talking to me about my experience. And, well, he didn't speak about my experience. He said that, well, he spoke about my experience, but he said that I heard that you passed out. That's the way that he spoke about it. I said, yeah. I said, something happened. So he took my temperature. And he said, well, he said, your temperature is proper. And then when he took my blood pressure, he looked at me and he stood back. He said, wow, man. He said, you got the blood pressure of an 18-year-old. He said, you've been touched by God. So I wanted to share that with you. I wanted to ask you. So anyway, they didn't want me to come back to work until I went to see a psychiatrist. So I went to see the psychiatrist. So the psychiatrist, he was trying to be serious, but when I was telling her about the things that was going on with me, she was trying to maintain her composure because she kind of thought that it was kind of far-fetched. And then when I had an experience that I told her about that she couldn't do nothing but, she discharged me. Told me that wasn't nothing wrong with it. Hello?
Yeah. I'm listening. So you said a story. You told us a story, which was very fascinating. But is there when you made is there a question or something that you are alluding to with this story that you would like to present
Yeah,
today?
what I was asking you was that, what do you think was going on with that? I mean, what you think was happening?
Okay, so first, number one, you have to be very careful what you express to people. Okay.
Yeah, I know.
You have to be, but first off, which we're going to get into that. Coincidentally, some of the scenarios that you and the other participants tonight presented, we're going to be talking about some aspects of this stuff. You know what I'm saying? In the monologue, which will be shortly. Okay, so there's no coincidences concerning that. But you have to be very careful. And that's for everyone. You have to be very careful what you express your innermost. Because like this, some things, the spirit. Some will say spirit, some will say God, whatever. There are some things that are displayed only for you. Now, even though I may understand it, if you're in front of the wrong person, it's going to cause problems. If you express,
and it did,
and it did. It's a good thing that those problems didn't go even further than that. But the point where they said you couldn't work, and then from the point you couldn't work until you go see a psychiatrist, what if the psychiatrist would have admitted you? Right? Because they do, once you are under their jurisdiction, they can do all types of things now. You get what I'm saying? And it's all because of,
that's right.
So with that, only thing I'm saying is that as a caveat to not only you, but to everybody who's listening, some things that are displayed to you are for you. The place that we are in is a spirit place, okay? It is a spiritual place, 100%. Divisive or division-like language, which we got into in the last Metaphysics Wednesdays, that are created by the Dracons and Archons and everything else. One also dividing tactic was to call this place anything other than a spiritual realm, right? They call it the physical, okay? And they gave you all these reasons why it's the physical. Now, it doesn't mean it's true. Now, some will say because they're basing their logic off of what they have been indoctrinated with, okay, and what they choose to believe, they may say, because we feel pain here when we bleed in the spirit place, in the higher heavens, we're not gonna, well, in the spiritual world, we're not gonna feel that at all. Who says that?
That's true.
You say, you get what I'm saying? Who's saying this? You know what I'm saying? How do you? No, this is a spiritual place, and you are feeling those things. Okay, so with that, so that's the caveat there. Next, the looking into the sun and the breathing into the P-now, right? That is actually that's actually a advanced technique. Okay, that's an advanced technique utilized to do certain things to the, let's just say to the, for what can be perceived in awareness, okay, when it comes to the person. You know what I'm saying? And so when you said these different things of your experience, and when you specifically said that, I said, oh, that's very interesting, because what the spirit revealed to you and what you were, what happened to you at that time, literally is a technique that is used in very advanced circles to do some very specific things, which I'm not going to name here because it would be, utilized wrongly. But so some of the things that the spirit reveals to us are for us, and maybe to be shared with those who can handle it. So just make sure that you take heed of that, and for it to be revealed to you and for you to kind of have that experience. Let me ask you a question, brother, because that's very superhuman-like. Are you a big guy?
I weigh 140 pounds. I'm alkaline.
Okay. Well, you have a lot of internal strength to be able to hold that energy like that. Okay. Well, of course.
But you know what I can't?
Go ahead.
But you know what I can't do at will is hear. I can hear sometimes, but I can't hear at will.
You say you can hear sometimes, and what again?
I say sometimes I can hear, and sometimes I can't.
Oh, okay. You're talking about physically hear.
Spiritually.
Oh, spiritually hear. Okay, spiritually hear.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. We speaking spiritually. I'm speaking spiritually. Sometimes I can hear, and sometimes I can't. Sometimes I can hear you in California, in France, and sometimes I can't even hear you if you're standing right there to me. Not spiritually. Physically I can, but spiritually I can't. And then sometimes spiritually I can hear everything.
You want to meditate, just meditate more. Sometimes, now we are in a place where, see, in saying that what you said, right? So sometimes, let's say your higher spiritual ability works phenomenal, right? But then in other times, it doesn't, right? Okay, so for those who may have experiences like that, there's a few different reasons for it. First off, our vibrations are going up and down all the time, right? So it could be us, right? But also, you got to remember what is around us. We are being bombarded with EMF all the time. We are in grids.
That's right.
Most of us are in grids. Okay, so most of us here live in cities, right? Most of us here does not live in the country. Okay, when I say country, I mean country, whereas there's no cell phone towers, nothing, right? Most of us live in densely populated suburbs or in cities. So because of that, that means that 24/7, even if you're driving around, you're under a grid, okay? In that grid, if it does not directly stop your higher self from elevating, it distorts it. It bombards it and causes it to distort. So with that, just be aware of that. So sometimes some of the things, especially if you know that you are focused and everything else, and things is kind of at times a little off and everything else, it might not be you. Exactly, it might not, at least in some cases. Okay, it could be the environment you're also in. So just be aware of that.
Thank you.
Yeah, so interesting story though. Very interesting story, brother. Keep what was revealed to you, because of course there's some intricacies concerning that I know of, but that I'm sure were revealed to you that you might not even realize right now. And so meditate and go deep into what was revealed into for you, and take it further.
You know, I was told to do 50 of the breathing techniques, 50 of each, 2 times a day, but I do 75 of each 2 times a day.
Okay. Hey, well, whatever does it for you, brother.
Good. Thank you. I was asking you that because I was on the field to see if you thought that was too much or what, but you don't feel that that's too much. There's not too much breathing, is it? You can't put too much oxygen in your lungs.
I mean, we are in a place that's right now is being deprived of oxygen. That's why people keep becoming smaller. People are becoming smaller and smaller due to the oxygen levels on the planet. Now, some people do come from more pygmy or dwarf-like species of humanoids, but not all of us. Okay, and humans and animals, everything else becoming smaller, and that's a side effect of lower oxygen levels. So no, you at this point anyway, you can't get too much oxygen because there's not a lot of it in the first place.
That's right. All right. All right. Good. Good. Okay.
So did I, at least for now, did I give some clarity on at least what you
Very
shared?
much. Very much so, sir. Very
My
much.
man.
Excellent.
Very
Excellent.
much.
So you can stay on course and listen, and if anything else comes up, I'm going to end up opening the line shortly for people to make comments and ask questions or whatever it may be. And if you have another one, you're welcome to share if that's the case.
All right. Thank you, Tony.
Thank you. I do appreciate you.
I myself am strange and unusual.
All right. So that was an interesting call there as well. So, okay, so that leads us to, so in the chat room there, for those who are listening, in the chat room I posted the coordinates to connect verbally if you choose to. If you have any, on the YouTube side, if there are any comments and questions at this time, you can type it out or you can utilize those coordinates to connect to the Zoom chat, okay, if that's the case. And so, so again, if there's any comments or questions thus far before we proceed into the monologue, you can type about in the YouTube chat or you can join the Zoom chat with the coordinates you see there. So I'll give it a moment or two for people to decide. All right, so I do see someone here named Naturally Me. Did you have a comment or a question? You can unmute your phone if that's the case.
No, Tony, it's Cassandra. I don't. Not right now in a minute.
Okay, well, I appreciate your attendance tonight.
Okay. You're welcome.
All right, so so what we're gonna do is here, we will get into the monologue. Okay, so last week we talked about a few different things. I mean, I'm reading some comments here on my other phone. Let's see. Okay, so, all right. Of course, I'm sure y'all hear my phone going off like crazy because people, as we want to show, people are texting things as well. Okay. Oh, okay. So Barbara in the chat asks on the YouTube side, what is the shopping code this evening? Barbara, it's not one this evening. Okay, so there's no coupon code tonight. There may be a coupon code next week, but there is not one tonight. Okay, so just FYI. All right, but do appreciate you looking for that. Okay, so I appreciate your continued patronage. Also mentioning here real quick, many of you have been awaiting clairvoyance. Clairvoyance is back in stock for now. Okay, so clairvoyance came back in stock this morning. That's the tea that people utilize to for enhancing psychic abilities, okay, and psychic awareness. That's called clairvoyance. It tends to go out of stock really quick. The nighttime version of that would be dreamscape, okay? So dreamscape is for nighttime only, like you're about to go to bed, is for dreams and such. And clairvoyance is for daytime, okay? So we do have someone here. Wade, did you have a comment or question before I get into the monologue? If so, you can unmute your phone. Wade in the Zoom chat. If you have any comment or question, you can unmute your phone before I get into the monologue. Okay, at least for now. So I'm about to get this straight into it then.
Not at this time. Thank you. This is my first time, and
Okay. Thank you, Wade. Thank you for your participation tonight.
mm-hmm.
All right. So, okay. So let's get into it. Okay. So what I'm going to call it the V. Okay. So anyone, if we're talking about the V, okay, V is in Victor. You know what we're talking about. Okay. What's going on? I want to call it the JB because even they are flagging that. So I don't really want to do that. So, okay. So there's a few main points tonight. And what we're going to be talking about is what can limit or stop your manifestation agility, okay? The ability for it to move, okay? So it's not just about projecting out a manifestation, but what if you can project that all you want to, but what if it has no movement? What if after you project your manifestation outward, regardless if it's like I don't know, just trying to achieve something, not just something right in front of you, because that's more of an easier thing to manifest. But let's say something so fantastic, so out the box. Think about it. The Meta Center, right? We're sending stuff out in space and everything. And wait till you see what happens later on this week, right? So we're doing stuff literally all the time that we do in the superhuman classes and that you have seen publicly, right? And these are things that, as you know for a fact as well, no one else is doing. And even the only people who are doing it are typically government and weather stations and stuff like that, right? So these things are done not just for us. No, they're done to show you what is possible if you project outward properly. Okay, so it's not just about projecting outward again. It's about your manifestation having actual agility. Now we're coming from the Jedi side. Okay, that's Jadi, the Jedi side. We're not coming from the side of the Sith. Okay, or the Muwa, or the Draconians, or Archons. Okay, we're not coming from their side, because their side they would manipulate, they would do anything to take advantage. And I'm going to get into some very specific examples of this. From the Jedi side, we don't do that. We don't have to do that. Okay, because we know the power that's within us, and we can project forward. Yes, it may take a little bit longer because we're not appealing to the 4 Fs. To fight, flee, feed, and fornicate. We're not gonna like if it's a woman, for example, she's not gonna defile herself, right? So meaning, for example, we all know that people love to look at women, right? Men and women, right? We all know that this world is very sexualized because it's the nature of creation, how we even got here. But it does not mean that if you're on camera talking about things that have nothing at all to do with that, you're showing your curves and things of this nature, right? Overly flaunting them, right? This would be appealing. This would be the example of appealing to the lower nature, specifically in the fornication spectrum, which is sexuality, okay? You don't need to do that. Instead, what that woman would do is she may even come covered, so you don't see her curves, right? And so you could look at her face, and so you could hear what she's saying out of her mouth. And why is she doing that? Because she's appealing to the higher nature, not the lower nature, not the animal nature. Do you see the difference? And thank you, Elizabeth, for joining. I was waiting on you. So that's our 5th caller, okay? So what's going to happen is that I'm into the monologue now, Liz, but I will bring you on once I'm through with the monologue, okay? And I thank you for coming in here. So you know, in each so we talk about the 4 Fs: fight, flee, feed, and fornicate, right? Disrupting the food systems, right? There's more than enough space in the world to grow very nutritional dense food, okay? At least for these times, even with the lower oxygen levels. But with a food scarcity, okay, that appeals to, again, your lower nature dealing with feeding, okay? When danger is happening, right? When they show things like what's happening in Afghanistan right now, where all of a sudden, out the blue, the U.S. is pulling all military operations out of that region after destabilizing it for so long, Okay, and so in short, you can say that not only did the Afghans defeat Russia, now you're talking about people in urban warfare, people just in the desert. Okay, urban warfare, not technologically advanced at all, beat Russia, pretty much beat the UN, and now beat the US. Okay, so very, very interesting. Okay, but nevertheless, they pulled, the US has pulled out of that region, right? And so you're seeing all this on TV and everything else, and that's appealing to the flee part of the animal nature. Okay, so again, fight, feed, flee, and fornicate. And of course, here in the U.S., we see the divisive language. We see the nonsense between, if we want to say left and right, if we want to say black and white, even though there's necessarily no black or white, you know, it's all just occult buffoonery, okay, and to appeal to your fight nature, okay, to spur a reaction within you. So again, so let's get into some specifics. So let's talk about first about not giving away your sovereign power. Okay, we're talking about your internal nature of knowing. Now again, this is more advanced, right? Because even though I may say this, and some people here may feel inspired. See, I say I don't want to inspire. Okay, again, this is a metaphysical conversation. Just say that again. Okay, maybe some things that's in reference to what you may see in supposedly the real world, but that's just a coincidence. So with that, I don't want to see. Let me tell you what inspiration does. Okay, when you go places, and if you are a person who needs to be inspired, right? That means that until you get out of that mode, you will always need to be inspired, because inspiration is like a car, like an automobile, where it has to be filled up at least periodically. Okay, so after you're inspired, and you hear people, right, like like back in the day, right, in church, they'd be like, "Ooh, the pastor, oh, he that was a good sermon today," right? And so they were inspired, right? But then by the end of the week, they're deflated. They're maybe things don't feel as energetic as they were the day of that sermon, right? And so when your internal engine is running off of inspiration instead of running off of its self-generating ability, you got to keep going to at least back to that source or to other sources to keep being refilled. Okay, refilled over and over and over and over again. Okay, and it tends, for most people, it tends to be a vicious cycle. So let's continue on here. So let's give some examples here. So an example of giving away your sovereign power is accepting something just because it is offered. An example of that, at least, right now, pretty much everybody just stays in their huts. But going back, let's go back some years, even like 10, 15 years, right? People out and about everywhere all the time, right? And so even going back to 20 years and stuff like that, right? So closer to the year 2000, right? People everywhere out and about doing what they do no matter where you go, right? And so it'll be commonplace to go somewhere and someone wants to hand you a flyer. It doesn't mean the flyer is malicious. It doesn't mean they have ill intent, but they just hand you a flyer to give you information about whatever. And without even looking at it, you just accept it. You could be accepting a death note. Okay? So you don't know that. I mean, it obviously doesn't seem to be such, but it could be. So that's one aspect, that's a very simple one, of giving away your sovereign power just by accepting things, just because you're just accepting stuff that you have no idea what it is. To be a true sovereign, you're operating within your the completeness of yourself. So if you are a complete person, why do you need stuff outside, like somebody handing you something on the street? Especially in knowing, not only because you're complete, but in your complete knowing of how this realm operates. Nothing is for free. That's how this realm operates. Okay? Because, for example, let's give a more, an example closer to home. Many of you patronize, right? In your patronizing, from the time Dr. Blair ascended, the Grand Master, from that point, maybe about a month or 2 or 3, it was a bit of rocky, a little bit, getting operations a certain way. And then we continue to move on, right? And so we are here because of you, okay? And especially many of you even say all the time about the progress you have made because of us. You see? So it's not for free, okay? You patronize. And in your patronage, whether it be coming to events and everything else, you get what you are seeking. You understand? So let's move on. Accepting, another aspect of giving away your sovereign power, is accepting what someone says when this is not your family or friend or someone you hold dear. Let me give you an example of this, and I'm going to show you some screenshots as well here in a moment. So all over social media, I've been seeing people for a while now, and many of you I'm sure have as well, where especially in the health spaces and everything else, right, where they'll say all types of claims. For example, they will say, here, I'm selling you this product because I used to have all these different diseases. And they'll go off naming all types of stuff, right? Like in the Pacific, I'm not going to name any Pacific names, but in the herbal spaces, there were a few people coming up in my feed, as advertisements on Instagram, that these people said they had so many different autoimmune diseases that they healed themselves from. And I'm like, and people all was in the, people were all up in the comments like, yeah, go this and go that, so you be like, yes, yes, yes. And let me tell you what's strange about that, right? First off, major claims of something have to have major evidence of it. Okay? This is why we purposely just don't claim things. We actually show you. Okay? Some things can't be shown publicly. You have to come to an event, but we show you. So let me give you an example of this. And this is dealing with giving away your sovereign power. So if a person makes the claim, for example, that they, like one person, we shared this with the members of the Meta Center a while ago. So they got this like a year ago or so, okay? But this one person, for example, said they healed themselves from like 10 different diseases, right? Of course, things were so nuanced, you can't prove one way or another, okay? But some of them you can. And the person said specifically an autoimmune disease, right? Now, as many of you know who are more astute, with autoimmune diseases, many of them are very similar, okay? Just like a lot of diseases seem to be, the issues seem to be very similar, right? So typically, in 99% of the cases that I have seen, okay, as being a herbalist for years and being in the health space and everything else and helping out thousands of people, right, that especially if it's a serious issue like an autoimmune disease, you're going to have to go get lab work done, okay? You're going to have to go to, whether you go to a doctor directly or whether you go to a lab directly, you get lab work done. If they see that there's an issue, then from that point, you would get more lab work done that's more specific, okay, and much more expensive, okay? From that point, eventually it comes to the conclusion that, yes, you may have this, or this person may have this autoimmune disease or that one, okay? That's how it works, okay? And then for example, difference between one and another, right? Difference between, let's say, HIV and lupus, okay? Stuff like that. So from that point, if someone's making a claim that I healed myself from 3 autoimmune diseases, you got to say, I need you to back that up. You know what I'm saying? Because if you really had an autoimmune disease, you got lab work for a fact. You have lab work if you really did have it. Let's see the lab work before and let's see the lab work after. Now, if you are able to show that, oh yes, your business will go from whatever you're at to triple or quadruple because people actually factually see. But let me tell you all something. I guarantee they're not going to show anything like that because they can't. Because it's made up. They're mooah. Okay? So when you just believe something like that, because think about it, belief is something on your end. Anybody could stand on a soapbox and say anything they want to say. Okay? Just think about this, right? If half the nonsense that we see currently on the news, like the Fosse dude, if he were to get up on a soapbox in the middle of the street and say that nonsense, would anybody pay attention to him? No. They just say that guy's crazy. Do you understand? So it's the same thing with everything. You have to, this person is not your family. This person is not your friend. You don't know this person at all. So you should want to investigate and see, has this stuff been shown, so that you can even protect yourself, so that you're not giving belief into something that may actually not be a good thing for you. Okay, so let me give a deeper example of this. Okay, I'm about to show you some images on the screen here. So this image you see here is from a movie. This is Baron Vladimir Harkonnen. Okay, it's from the movie called Dune. Many of you will know this movie because in your orders, of course, you get many gifts and things in your orders. And one of the flyers is the movie list. Okay, movies to watch that show a secret of our reality, right? And one of those movies is Dune. Okay, Dune is an excellent movie. So if you haven't seen Dune, you should check it out. Okay, this comes from Dune right here.
And how can this be? For he is the Kwisatz Haderach.
Okay, so that my whole sound effect there actually comes from Dune. Okay, again, it's an excellent movie. You should check it out. So again, the Baron, who is the head of the House of Harkonnen, okay, they are pretty much a very savage-like house. Okay, would do just about anything to gain power. Okay, now you see him here, right? He looks like he's infected, right? You know what I'm saying? His face is nasty, got pus all up over it. And in the movie itself, this doctor is poking at it, right? And saying how his diseases are so beautiful, right? Absolutely disgusting, right? But nevertheless, you see him here. What if he offered you something? Now, I don't even got to say offered you something specific. If he tried to offer you anything, you would not accept it. Why? Because you visually see something there that's not good. But let's say, for example, this person here wanted to offer you the V and said, you should take the V. Please let me give you my special tonics. Right? You're gonna be you're gonna be like, bruh, stop the cap. Right? So not today, Satan. Okay, so you're gonna do all that, right? If this dude decided to do that, okay. So let me show you another example here, right? Now again, this is dealing with, giving away your sovereign power, right? So you would not accept anything from this person, okay? We get that, right? So actually, let me do a poll here real quick in the chat room on YouTube, right? Let me know. Let me tell you this. Let me ask you all this on YouTube. Would you accept anything from this person? I don't care what it is. Okay? If you would not accept anything from this person, say no. If you would accept something from this person, like if he wanted to give you the V, right? Say yes. So if you would accept the V from this person, say yes. If you would not accept the V from this person, say no. Okay? And while one person said, hell no. Okay, so let's continue on here. So the next picture I'm showing you here, again, this is a fun metaphysical conversation to express and display more advanced tactics and techniques in this world that is upside down, that really needs to be right side up. So, what you see here on the screen now is, this is Darth Vader, okay? Darth Vader from Star Wars. And even though you don't see his face, and even though Darth Vader had more of a clean physique, at least when he has his armor on, would you accept if this Darth Vader, if this dark side person, if he came to you and he said to you, I want to give you the V, would you accept it? Yes or no? Okay, so that's the question again. If Darth Vader came to you and said they wanted to give you the V, would you accept it? Yes or no? And of course, Darth Vader, we know what he represents, right? We know what he stands for. So, of course, again, in the chat room, people are saying, no way. They're saying, hell no.
Not today, Satan. Stop the cap. Bruh.
Right? So we get it, right? We get it. They're saying, no, I'm not going to accept the V from Darth Vader. Okay? So now here's also another picture here, right? And so I'm trying to prove a point here, right? I'm going deeper and deeper. So just bear with me here. Let's take this walk down this path, okay? So the V is the V, you know, the injection that people are getting, okay? Someone asks in the chat room, what is the V? Okay, it's the injection, all right? So here's the neighborhood corner man, okay? So the neighborhood corner man here is, he has, of course, he's selling the marijuanas, but he also has in one of his baggies the V, okay? He has the V in one of his baggies. And he asks you, hey, would you want to get some of this V, right? And would you accept the V from him? I mean, he's selling marijuana. You know, many of you are into that, that's one of your things that you like to do, you can even call it a hobby. Would you accept a V from your neighborhood marijuana dealer? Okay. So, of course, the answer is no. I'm not going to keep asking you all yes or no. We all know the answer is no. But then it becomes, why would you accept it from this then? Just because someone puts on this coat? I mean, I'm just asking a serious question here. Because it's all the same. Now, someone will say, no, it's not. This person here, Baron Vidimir Hakonnen from House of Hakonnen, he's evil. He'll say he's an obvious evil man. He does evil things. Okay, Darth Vader from Star Wars, he's evil. He's an obvious evil man, and he does evil things. Why would I accept anything from these people? Right? And then I show you again the marijuana man, right? Oh, of course I'm not going to accept anything from him. He may not be necessarily an evil man, but no, I'm not accepting anything from that person.
Not today, Satan.
Okay? I'm not doing any of that. But then again, I ask you, why would you accept it from the person who will wear this coat? Then you'll come with all types of reasons, because did you a makeup, right? Maybe about the person being smart. Again, going back to the Baron of House Harkonnen, he's the head of the house, and they're ruthless. They're major players in the galaxy of Doom. Okay, so he's not dumb either. I would say he's probably much more smarter than a person who wears this coat. Okay, Darth Vader, okay, who was Anakin Skywalker. Anakin Skywalker was, as far as in the movie, okay, this is all metaphysical and dealing with fiction, okay. Anakin Skywalker, who turned into Darth Vader, was also a very smart person. I would say probably smarter and more, has more ingenuity than the people who may wear this coat. Okay, now for the neighborhood marijuana dealer, I can't really say one way or another. So let's go deep, right? So of course the premise that people would say is that The person wearing the white coat is pretty much the next thing closest to God. And I would say to that,
Stop the cap. Bruh. Not today, Satan.
okay, that's what I would say to somebody who may say that, right? So, but I'm about to share my screen here again, okay? So I'm about to share my screen, and I'm about to show you all something. And I'm about to show you facts, okay? So you can come to your own decisions in the things that you do, okay? So I went overboard, right? I gave many examples. I showed you Baron Vladimir Harkonnen from House of Harkonnen. I showed you Darth Vader. I showed you the neighborhood drug guy. You say that the person wearing the white coat is nowhere near that. Why am I going on and pretty much exhausting this point? Here, what you see on the screen now is the unethical human experimentation in the United States. Now, of course, what you see here, this is from Wikipedia. This is a public, okay, this is public information. Of course, I mean, a person who has even somewhat of intelligence know that many things go on behind closed doors, right? And many of these things that are public, the entities themselves eventually released it, okay? Not like people may have hinted to it, but these entities actually released it. So let's get into this. Now this is all by the medical industry, okay? On behalf of, or the government itself, so on behalf of the government, or doing it just themselves, okay? So numerous experiments which were performed on human test subjects in the United States are considered unethical because they were illegally performed, or they were performed without knowledge, consent, or informed consent of the test subjects. Such tests were performed throughout American history. So the person who has that coat that I showed you is part of an organization that has been doing unethical human experimentation without the knowledge, consent, or informed consent of the test subjects. And such tests have been performed throughout American history. But they say most of them were performed during the 20th century. Well, they say most now because now it just hasn't been released yet. Maybe 40, 50 years from now, they're changing history, they're bringing down moments and everything else. So now it may come to the point where it's under closed doors forever. But if they released everything that goes on, I mean, it would fill volumes. It would fill libraries of all the insidious behavior that goes on behind closed doors. Okay? The experiments included the exposure of humans to many chemical and biological weapons. Okay, I'm going to highlight this so you can see what I'm reading. Okay, including infections with deadly or debilitating diseases, human radiation experiments, injections of toxic and radioactive chemicals, surgical experiments, so pretty much doing unnecessary surgery on you. How many people we know, even you may know in your family, where they'll go to the hospital and the medical establishment would do a surgery that was unneeded? You can literally Google that and get tons of examples of this, of people even suing because of this, right? Again, this is the motive, this is the MO, the modus of operations of this organization. Okay? See, sometimes it takes, we're going to get deeper into the manifestation in your powers. But I'm tired of people engaging with, they have good hearts, right? And they're trying to show and be clear and explain why people shouldn't do this or do that and everything else. But they're missing certain points, right? And they're missing core points. We don't even got to go deep into the chemicals of things and everything else. Oh, what is that made of? We don't have to go even there. We can start at the foundation right at the door. And this is right at the door. Okay, so a messenger came down from Argartha and wanted me to do this because the points were not getting, they weren't going across the realm at the degree and at the power that they needed to. So that's why I'm showing you, I give you these cartoony examples and talk about movies and everything else, because it hits home. We all are watching movies. We're all into this stuff. So it really hits home and it's very easy to understand. So again, let's continue on. So surgical experiments. interrogation, torture experiments, tests which involve mind-altering substances like MK Ultra, okay, and a wide variety of other experiments. Many of these tests performed on children, the sick, and the mentally disabled individuals. So especially the mentally disabled individuals and the children, 100% people that cannot consent. They will perform on them, often under the guise of medical treatment. In many of the studies, a large portion of the subjects were poor, racial minorities, or prisoners. Many of you, if you want to go down that, look how many experiments they do on prisoners, because when you're a prisoner, you actually are pretty much a ward of the state. They could do anything to you. Okay? Many of these experiments violated U.S. law. So that tells you for a long time, it was laws in the book saying like, hey, no. But companies and other entities did these things anyway. And of course, with any of these things, it takes the people to enact justice against unlawful entities. Just think about it. Even what I just named here, for example, up to here, if you or I did this, we would be, they would probably exterminate us immediately, right? They would even say you were a criminal organization and bring us up on maybe RICO charges and stuff like that, right? But these companies and all these other entities are doing these things. So not only are they performing all these unethical experiments and everything else, this organization is a criminal enterprise because they are criminally continually to do these things. Okay? Again, these are people who pray to the white coats. And you said, not saying you directly, but they would say that they're different than Darth Vader. They're different than Baron Valdemir Harkonnen from House of Harkonnen. They're different than the marijuana dealer who wants to sell you the V. They're different than those people. Especially the Baron, especially Darth Vader. But they actually are worse. They're worse. Okay? They are the ones who were, these Darth Vader and let's say House of Harkonnen were inspired by them. By them right here that I'm reading. Were inspired by, let's say, the U.S.'s engagement in these illegal activities. They were inspired by this. You know, okay? It's not the other way around. So, some others were sponsored by government agencies or rogue elements thereof, including the Center of Disease Control, the main entity that Dr. Fauci keeps telling on, getting caught up in lies, saying that in the beginning, he literally said that, I'm ad-libbing here, but said that, in short, why would you wear masks? Why would you wear these masks back to the store? They're worthless against this supposed disease. Why would you wear them? Then he said, wear them. But are they worthless or not? Okay? His stance in the beginning, before the pressure started getting, was they're worthless. So which is true or not? And so this is the deep thing about it. Going back to it is that people in positions of trust, okay? These people in positions of trust are not your sister or brother. They're not your mother or father. They're not your grandma or grandfather. They're not your husband or wife. Okay? Why are people giving these people the patience, giving these people the even love, right? Giving these people the chances that you would give literally one of your family members. These people are not your family or your friends. You have no idea what their intent is. And obviously they're part of an organization that intent is absolutely insidious. These organizations are literally the type of stuff that literally you can make a movie out of. Literally. An evil movie. So why would you give them the type of trust that a husband would give a wife or a wife would give a husband? That doesn't make any sense at all. It doesn't even, I mean, it boggles the mind, right? But yet, these same type of people in their personal lives, when their loved one does make a mistake, something like that, they ostracize them, right? But they give these people every chance in the world, right? So let's continue on here. So let's actually go down to some of the, so here's some of the surgical experiments, okay? So throughout the 1840s, J. Marion Sims, who is often referred to as the father of gynecology, performed surgical experiments on enslaved African women without anesthesia. What? What? Now, some of you here, everybody here is above 18. Everybody here is adults. Okay. This is proving a point here, a very specific point that's undeniable. So just bear with me here. We're going to continue on past this in a moment, but I have to prove this point here and continue on for those that may not be as advanced as some of you here. Okay? So again, throughout the 1840s, this J. Marion Sims, okay, there's a picture of him there, performed surgical experiments on enslaved African women without anesthesia. The women, one of whom was operated on 30 times, eventually died from infections resulting from the experiments. Facts. Remember, this is the stuff that's known. Okay? Let's go down. 19th century. I'm passing up quite a bit of stuff. Okay? You can research this yourself. This is on Wikipedia. It's unethical human experimentation in the United States. Now, you also remember this. Unethical human experimentation has happened and does happen all over the world. Okay? Pathogens, disease, and biological warfare agents. Late 19th century. In 1880s, Hawaii, a California physician working at a hospital for lepers injected 6 girls under the age of 12 with syphilis. Why would you do that? Now, a lot of times they weren't doing this because they were malicious. They were doing this because they were ordered to do this by higher-ups. Okay? In 1895, New York City pediatrician Henry Hyman intentionally infected 2 mentally disabled boys, one of 4, one of 6, one of 16. So one of 4 and one of 16 with gonorrhea as a part of a medical experiment. 20th century. I'm passing up some stuff here. 20th century. Let's see here. In 1908, 3 Philadelphia researchers infected dozens of children with tuberculin at St. Vincent Orphanage in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, causing permanent blindness in some of the children and painful lesions and inflammation of the eyes in many of the others. See, this is why, this is a call to those in the community, of all communities, because this is a humanity issue, okay? Especially those of you who actually are intelligent. This is what I gotta say to you.
Stop the cap.
Okay?
Bruh.
Come on with the nonsense. It's time to grow up, literally. Okay? I'm tired of seeing people all over the place dwelling who are actually intelligent. They are intelligent for sure, but they're dwelling in the 4 F's: fight, flee, feed, and fornicate. It's like they can't get out of it. If you can't get out of it, just get a consultation or something, so I can tell you how to get out of that. Okay? Because you actually are very intelligent, and you can actually do much better. Okay, but you sitting here, you playing games. So either you are literally the muwa, okay, and your whole purpose is to mislead people, or you actually just need a little bit of encouragement and help. And then from a teacher to a teacher, I can offer some of you that help, because some of y'all playing, man. But y'all do it. But you're smart, and you can bring about a better life for many, because these people tripping. Okay, and the whole thing is that in these people, as far as the populace, are praising these people and treating them like their mother, their father, etc. So let's go on to the 1940s. At the University of Michigan, biologists Thomas Francis, there's a picture of him, and Jonas Salk, and other researchers deliberately infected patients at several Michigan mental institutions with influenza virus by spraying the virus into nasal passages. Why is this stuff so similar to what we're experiencing right now, right? Come on, man.
And no. Not today, Satan. Not today, Satan.
All right, so what is going on? This stuff is getting very, very similar to what we are seeing today. All right, so one moment here. All right, so let's continue on. Okay, I'm going to the 1950s now. In 1950, to conduct a simulation of a biological warfare attack, the U.S. Naval sprayed large quantities of the bacteria that you see there, okay, considered harmless at the time, over the city of San Francisco, okay? They sprayed, which they considered harmless at the time, right? They considered harmless, right? Sure, okay? Yeah. So They sprayed it over the city of San Francisco during a project called Operation Sea Spray. Okay, Operation Sea Spray. Numerous citizens contracted pneumonia-like illness, and at least one person died as a result. So they're spraying things also, conducting medical experiments over entire cities. All right, so, I mean, that's a doozy itself. Let's go on to the 1960s. In 1963, 22 elderly patients at the Jewish Chronic Disease Hospital in Brooklyn, New York City, were injected with live cancer cells by Chester M. Southern, who in 1952 had done the same, look at this, had done the same to prisoners at the Ohio State Prison to discover the secret of how healthy bodies fight the invasion of malignant cells.
Not today, Satan.
Okay. Human radiation experiments, radioactive iodine, uranium experiments, plutonium experiments, experiments involving other radioactive materials. You see these things for yourself. Fallout research. That's the fallout is like after a nuclear bomb or something like that goes off, and the waste, pretty much the waste materials in the air, in the soil, and everything else. Do research on that. Irradiation experiments, non-consensual tests. And this deals with chemical experiments. Operation Top Hat. For those superhumans, that's very interesting, right? Because there's something very specific we discussed in the superhuman classes. Operation Top Hat? What? Okay, well, we got to research that later. Okay. Psychological and torture experiments. And it goes on and on and on and on. Okay, I'm about to unshare my screen now. So again, I'm about to make a point here. So you would not trust this guy, right, who does very similar, okay, very similar. You would not trust, this is the Baron, again, Baron Veldemir Harkonnen from House Harkonnen. I'm saying his full name, yes. Here is Anakin Skywalker, who eventually became Darth Vader. You wouldn't trust him, right, because he's evil. Here's the neighborhood marijuana dealer, who of course is much less compared to those two characters, but you would not get from him the V to inject yourself with from him either. Okay, but yet the person who wears this, that doesn't mean all these people, but they're part of a organization that is known for it. They're part of a criminal enterprise, literally. So why would you trust this person? Again, it doesn't mean all the people. I know some very good, wholesome, who are doing the right thing, medical doctors. Personally, I know them, right? But the organization they're a part of does experiments on people and stuff. Okay, that does proven unethical, and still to this day, I guarantee they still are doing it. Okay, this is my opinion now, but it's based on just the nature, the historical nature of these enterprises. Okay, but yet the people around you are trying to convince you, just put in you the tonic from this person. Just put in you from an organization that's known as a criminal organization, who gets their supplies from a bigger criminal organization that we could go on and on and on. I think you get the point here. I'm going to stop it there for now. There's two other points we're going to get into. Okay, there's two other points in my monologue that we need to discuss. But for now, I'm going to bring on our next guest, because I don't want her waiting too long. For those in the chat rooms all over, because many different chat rooms happen all over the place, if that was informative for you, hit 1 on your keypad. So if that was informative for you, hit 1 on your keypad. Let me know. Okay, and let others know as well by hitting 1. All right. So hit 1 on your keypad if that was informative to you. So Okay, so let's continue on here. So, Liz, can you unmute your phone, Liz?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. There she is. Let's give her a hand clap.
First of all, I want to say thank you so much for not giving up on me, and I give greetings to everyone. I got to tell you, you must have been reading my mind because you discussed just about everything that I wanted to ask. But there is a couple more things that I'd like to ask you about.
Okay, first, Liz, it is one question per person. Okay, and then if there's time left, you'll be able to ask more if need be.
Okay, great. I'll abide by the rules. I wanted to know what can be, I think that there's a John Chang in everyone, no matter what the age. I think that this particular ability can be enhanced at any age. And I'd like to know if there are any women that exhibit or display the abilities of John Chang. And if so, could you give me a couple of names so I can do some research on them, please?
Okay, that's a good question. Okay, so typically in arenas like that, you would tend to find, of course, more men, right? Because men are literally built for that, okay? And tend to be more, because that's really, John Chang, even though he was showing it more of in a fun way, right, and helping people and stuff like that, it's really, you can look at it in a way, yes, you could help, you can heal people, because of course we have Master Gary Kleiman, right, which I've showed some footage of him a few podcasts ago, right, who literally I tend to send people to him, and he appears on many platforms and everything else as well, who can do very similar to John Chang, okay? He could touch you and zap your whole body, the whole 9 yards. And so, and I'm actually going to get, the next part of my monologue is going to actually deal with him. Okay, so there's no coincidence at all that you just mentioned this. Okay, okay. So when it comes to women, because women's internal energy is a bit different than men. Okay, men are projectors. We project outward, right, by our natural anatomy. Women are inward by their natural anatomy. I find more women actual like martial artists and things of that nature, right? Actual just pure fighters than like a John Chang. Now, I do know many women who are authentic healers, but it's different than a John Chang. Much different. It's an entirely different category than that. Okay, their energy is more receptive than projective.
So for women, that's pretty much an impossibility, is what you're saying?
Nothing's impossible. No, not at all. It's just that it would take an extreme amount of work for a woman to make her energy project than her natural ability to be receptive.
So if I start now, by the time I'm 13,000 years old, I should be able to pull it off, right?
There are women, I'm sure, on the planet here and there that possibly can do what John Chang does. But again, it's like it's almost like, let's say like a man, right, who is super muscular, who can lift, 1,000 pounds or whatever, right? A woman says, I want to do that too. I mean, is it possible? Yeah, but her energy is the same, but it's in a different category though. Okay, where that man would have a hard time doing what she's doing in that category as well. So we are two sides of the same coin. You know what I'm saying? We both have our strengths in very specific areas. Okay, can a woman do it? Yeah, but you all's ability is something entirely different. That's why when I see women walking around trying to be extra masculine and trying to be like a man, I say, what are you doing? Because your energy is something out of this world. It's in a whole different realm. Okay, of course, you came some years ago, you came to a superhuman class some years ago. And so Think of it like that. It's an entirely different world. You all have an entirely different ability that's absolutely wonderful and divinely inspired if you can truly tap into it. Okay, that if you truly did tap into it, you wouldn't want to even be masculine. You wouldn't even want to do what a man does. Okay, because you're like, nah, I'm good over here with this energy I got because it is the bomb. You understand what I'm saying? Okay, there's no need to do that at all. So the fact that I see many women pursuing very masculine areas and energies, it actually saddens me. You know what I'm saying? Because the woman's ability is astronomical, just in a different way.
I understand what you're saying. Thank you for that. Oh, and a matter of fact, I did get the chance to experience Master Kleiman's work. Yeah, it was just like the videos. but yes, it was definitely an experience, and I'm glad I had the opportunity to meet with him and work with him. Okay, then I'm going to stop hogging the media, the platform now. So if there's some time, maybe I'll get a chance to ask you that last question I had.
Okay, there it is. Okay, so stay on the line. I appreciate you joining in, even though it's a little bit later, so I do still appreciate you coming in. And there should be some time for anyone to ask questions or comments once I get through with the monologue, which will be momentarily.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yes, Queen.
All right, so, okay. All right, so many people also found the previous commentary concerning the monologue informative. So let's continue on here. Okay, let's go deeper. All right, we're going to continue to go deeper and deeper. Now here, it's actually storming here big time here in Chicago. Okay, I guess what the truth that's being put out is the heavens are echoing the insanity of what is being stated. Okay, it's angering those on Mount High. Okay, so one moment here. So I'm going to continue on here. So the next thing that what one person, remember, this deals with your manifestation, right? And so in the previous example of showing the different characters and showing all the experimentation is that a person, now of course that's the reason why they tend to always try to infect and cause chaos with either a few different parties, either children, because they could take advantage of them, the mentally ill, because they could take advantage of them, or soldiers, okay, because they have signed a contract and they're under the authority of them, right? Or they just do things secretly, like factually and actually spraying an entire city like they did with San Francisco, which they done secretly, right? So they're like vampires in a way, right? Where you have to give your energy up to them. Now, it doesn't mean they may not make it hard for you. They may attempt to, but you have to give your energy up to them. So let's continue on. So that whole example of the first examples was about giving your energy up to the Draconians or the Archons or the Muwa, who are really agents of the Dracons and Archons and the evil one on Mount High, right? Or the mount underneath the sea, or whatever you want to say, right? So you want to also, this is number 2 now, number 2. You want to create a proper breeding ground for your manifestation to grow. Oh, I meant to actually ask you all, I actually forgot to do this. I wanted you all, as I hit the different points, I wanted you all to create timestamps, right? I totally forgot. So like when you see me like go from one caller to the next, you know, you say, okay, he went from this caller at this point, next caller at that point, but it is what it is. Just to make the life easier after the fact, I could put the timestamps because these bad boys, these podcasts be going for, 3-4 hours. So, yeah, to try to make it easy for people to get to those points they want to listen to. But anyhow, so number 2 again, creating a proper breeding ground for your manifestation to grow. An example of this is very simple, right? Create a sacred space within your space. So, for example, you may have a room, okay, that you dedicate to your sacred practices. Now, sacred practices doesn't mean you're sitting there with crystal bowls in there. It could be a hobby, okay? It could be like you go in that room to create art, for example, right? You go in that room to create your inventions. Okay, it could be a room like that because that is a sacred space. It's for that. There's no defining what should be necessarily in a sacred space. It depends on what's sacred to you. So, the next example here is eating habits, right? That's why we put out the fasting program, right? To help people kind of adjust their eating habits, okay? Fasting and limiting or cutting out sugar entirely. So eating habits and your thoughts. Your thoughts are very important, okay? Like going back to Atina, I see you're still listening. Your thoughts, right? All those three things all attribute to and allow your manifestation to grow, whatever that may be. Like Liz, in your previous comment question you just made about becoming like the woman version of, let's say, John Chang, which is really Liz, right? Okay. Anything is possible. Okay, there's just some roles that are just a little bit more difficult than others, but nothing's impossible. Okay, and so now I would encourage anyone to go hard. Okay, even though your power is great like that, but in a different arena though. But if you want to, go hard, right? And so so with that, even back to Liz, when it comes to you, contact Master Gary Kleiman, okay? Because you know, he does teach it, okay? And you can learn. So the third point here is being careful when engaging with beings, okay? So be careful when engaging with beings that are not of you. Okay? Be careful when engaging with beings that are not of you. This includes the Draconians, Archons, those from Sirius, Velusians. It doesn't mean Velusians are negative. It doesn't mean those from Sirius are necessarily negative, right? And the list goes on. It just means that these beings are different than you. So be careful when you engage with any being that's different than you. These, again, it goes back to the very basics. These are not your family, right? This is not your mom and dad. It doesn't mean you have to treat them like an enemy, necessarily, unless they are your enemy. But these are not your mom and dad. This is not grandma and grandpa. This is not your husband or wife. This is not your brother or sister or cousin, okay? You don't know this person at all. So you want to be careful in engaging with them. See, the whole point, the whole thing they want to get you in. So going back to, so let me see if I could use my smart board here. Okay, so let's see one of the toys that your patronage has brought forth to allow deeper understanding of what's taking place. So let's see here if I can do this. One moment. So, okay, so I'm sharing a whiteboard here, and I'm gonna show you all. I'm about to share my screen here on YouTube. Okay. So let's see something here. Just bear with me one moment. All right. Let's see something. Okay, so, all right, so you should see, the screen here. Okay, so you should see the screen here. Okay, so this is the Zoom whiteboard, but it's linked to the smart board that we have here. So this is my first time really operating it. I just hooked it up today specifically just in case it happens that it can be utilized during our conversation. But yeah, so okay, so again, to go back to it, just so we have complete clarity here. The number 3 point was being careful when engaging with beings that are not of you. Okay, this pretty much includes anyone that's not a person that you like directly care for, right? You know what I'm saying? If you directly, the mother, father, husband, wife, brother, sister, girlfriend, boyfriend, cousin, that type of thing, right? And because what you're doing is you're creating loosh, okay? So let's give an example of this. So in the example, this is going to be very basic for now. I'm not going to go too much into this smart board. I think I have to overextend myself to do this. But so let's say, of course, this is you here. So this is you, okay? Yeah, you should see that there. Okay, so that's you, right? And here is the entities. So here's the entities that want to cause you harm, right? Okay, so those are the entities that want to cause you harm. And so the whole thing they want you to do, like for example, in dealing with the V, let's make this as simple as possible, right? In dealing with the V, they want you to engage with them. That's what they want, right? Just make it as simple as possible here, right? And so when it comes to this, even based off of, again, they're not your mother and father. They're not any of these people, right? And they want you to inject something in you even with the knowledge of knowing now who they actually are, right? What most people are doing is when this energy wants to engage, okay, instead of cutting it off entirely, okay, from engagement, what people are doing is actually being engaged and then arguing about things like the ingredients, the law, arguing about points, in short, that are all creating loosh. Okay, let me write that a little better there. So let's see here. So what most people are doing all across the world, they instead of, when this engagement starts, they become engaged because they're arguing all these other points over here again. They're arguing all of this about the ingredients, about the law, about not being able to be a human and just live. Okay? They're arguing all these nonsensical points. Okay, why? That's all. That means that you have engaged with this criminal enterprise. Because you don't have to do any of that. Going back to this point here, right in the beginning, why won't you take my tonics? Because I'm just not. Why aren't you taking my tonics?
Not today, Satan. Stop the cap. Bruh.
Okay. It stops right at the door. It's not any engagement. Like, nope. See, when it comes to creating loosh, even in arguments, right? When you're dealing with an argumentative person, if you, as they're being argumentative and as they're doing what they're doing, if you just don't say anything, right, and you just let them go on their tirade, eventually, when they notice that no one is engaging with them, they look absolutely stupid. And in a majority of cases I've ever seen, they walk away because they get embarrassed because they're sitting here arguing and going on and on and on, and everybody's just looking at them. No one's saying anything. No one's even telling them to calm down, because even saying calm down is engaging with them. But many of you have seen this for yourself. Right? One person in the chat room said arguing about rights. Correct. So in this engagement here, right, something to clear it. Oh, 1 second here. So again, this is the entity, the entities. This is you over here. Okay. And so even arguing about rights, remember, this is like a blockage here, right? You have to invite them in. So this is like the barrier. Okay, so you have to invite them in, right? You have to engage, right? And so if you start to argue about the rights you have, let me tell you a secret about rights, okay? I'm about to stop this share for now. You get the point here. Because I'm actually standing up. I have to actually use this kind of smartboard thing. It's my first time even using it. Like I said, I just got it in. So it's going to be utilized for our classes and things. So hopefully many of you are joining the classes, okay? But we will be utilizing this more in future broadcasts. So when it comes to, let me move this over here. Okay, so when it comes to one moment here. Okay, yeah. So all these things create loosh. Okay, they want you to engage, and really it should stop right at the door. I mean, this is really simple. Again, and that's why I keep using it. It's not your mom, it's not your dad. Why are you giving these people respect? Why are you trusting them as if they're your mom and dad? This creepy person is coming to you even with a smile, right? Regardless of, again, no matter how old or young, right? No matter how old or young, no matter if it's a male or a woman, because remember, there are women and men in the medical industry, and whatever is needed, they'll come at you as a woman or a man to try to convince you that you need to take this this tonic, this special tonic in your skin, coming from a criminal organization, right? So it just stops there. I mean, I don't know you. Why am I going to inject something in my skin that I don't know, right? I mean, this is not about being strong or anything like that. This is about like if I showed you, if I put somebody on the street right now, if I went down just randomly to the ghetto or randomly to even a fine dining restaurant right now and just pick somebody up, put them in front of you, and they said, "Hey, I want to inject my special tonic in you," you're gonna immediately just say no. It's not gonna even be a thought. Like, I'm not doing that. So then why would you do it any other way? It doesn't even make sense. And so, but obviously the awareness in the world is becoming more thorough. And so, of course, some people have a hard time really, I know this kind of hits a certain way. So, it's undeniable. So, what can you say? It is a criminal organization. Why would you inject something from a criminal organization? I mean, I don't get it. You know what I'm saying? So, that's that. So, let's move on. So, you actually lose the moment you engage. So the moment you engage, you actually automatically lost. Because now you have to go through, once the engagement starts, it's like when a song starts in the dance, right? Starting to dance, right? And you're doing the waltz or whatever, right? Not just like twerking, right? You're doing the waltz and stuff, right? And so the dance has a sequence of events, and there's a beginning and an end part. Like the salsa has a beginning and an end part. So once that dance starts, you have to go until it finishes at that point. Once you become engaged. And it's going to try its best to get engaged with you. So, let's move on. Okay, so this is the last example here. This is going into, before we go into open lines, this is going into a bit of what Liz was talking about. Because I was going to talk about Master Gary Kleiman. Of course, for those who did not see, look at our previous podcast a few weeks ago that was dealing with pretty much superhuman stuff all around the world and stuff like that. You will see it up there. And so Gary Kleiman, if you are familiar with John Chang, he was from Far East Asia, and he was able to just with his hands put paper on fire, touch people and zap them, the whole 9 yards, right? Stuff that people would truly think is superhuman and truly think is something only of fiction, only of sci-fi. Now, some people here who are not familiar with that, who didn't see it personally, as I showed it on the screen, you may still think it's sci-fi and everything else, and I get it. But that just shows the lack of knowing what a human is actually capable of with practice and with focus. Okay, so going to like Gary, using Gary as an example here of what focus and what, again, about being wary so that you don't waste your time. Remember, since the beginning of this show, in this inception, okay, when Dr. Blair was here and I was just there in the background helping him do certain things, right? Even though he talked about a bit different subjects, still it was about helping the individual to see. It's better for me to play it here for you all. What is it? What is that? Yep.
There is no truth until you decide what truth is, and each person should find that truth out for his or herself.
So that was Dr. Blair's core premise in giving you fascinating stories, fascinating historical lessons and everything else, right? And from that point, we've been doing the actual application of that. The actual application of metaphysics. The actual application of, let's say, metaphysical sword fighting. Okay, not just the, let's say, more of the professor theory of it, but the actual application in the field, okay, of sword fighting and using your metaphysical sword to wield and to shoot lasers and everything else, right? So with that, one of the main things that you don't want to do in these times, especially, right? We see that it's very chaotic. People's willpower seems to be most definitely weakened, and that's by design. You don't want to waste your time. Okay, there's only 1,440 minutes in the day. Okay, and so with that, what you want to make sure of, for example, Gary has been meditating and doing his art form for decades. Okay, when I was 19 years old, and I have been meditating at that point again for about 10 years at that point, I could do certain things myself, which I'm not going to name, but I could do things myself. And that's why I knew Gary. When I met Gary, I was like, yep, he's the real deal, right? And so even when I seen John Chang, because I know it could do with actual earnest effort and development. But you get a lot of people out here who, for example, have been like one gentleman who listens to this show. He was practicing under a person. And I asked him questions like, oh, okay, you practice on this person, huh? Yeah. How long has this person been doing Qigong? And the person said like 30 years or something like that, 40 years. And I immediately say, what can he do? If he's been literally cultivating his Datian energy, if he's been literally cultivating his internal power for that long, what can he do? So I actually asked him, like, and the gentleman didn't know. I said, you need to ask him to show you something, because he should be able, because he should be able to show you something literally, indirectly. And this person cannot show him anything. But instead, what this person did is tell him, well, some things, can't be shown because it's a secret of secrets or whatever, right? And I said, that person's on BS. That person's wasting your time. Only thing that person really could do, he may be able to show you some techniques of Qigong, but that person, the only thing they can really do is breathe, right? Because a lot of these different art forms, they'll have a lot of breathing, and they can show you breathing, but they can't. At that point, you should be able to do something. Like, for example, can I punch you? I punched Gary. Gary invited me to punch him, right? That's how confident Master Gary was. Now, I met Gary 20 years ago. That's how confident he was, that he invited me to punch him. He invited me to squeeze his belly. You know what I'm saying? And so in doing that, you can't fake that. You know what I'm saying? And so I'm not saying that practitioners all over the world should be showing and telling. I'm not saying that. But when you have all types of false prophets, when you have all types of people who are just trying to convince with the angle of the 4 F's, fight, flee, and fornicating, and just trying to do that, then no, we need to see something, man, immediately. Now, of course, if a person is of a higher enough level, you don't even got to see, because the person would kind of naturally be doing something. Like, for example, they just touch your hand and you get zapped. Like, oh, whoa, what was that? Okay, so long story short, I said all that today in this long little monologue to show you different examples of not only how you should protect your energy, Why would you trust entities with your energy that are not, first off, yourself, not yourself? People are not even trusting themselves with their own energy, but instead give up their energy to a Draconian, to an Archon, to a Syrian. Okay? They'll give their energy to them. Give their energy even to the person across the street. Doesn't mean the person across the street gonna do something bad with it. But they just giving their energy away, giving it away over here, giving it away over there, instead of holding on to their own essence. And as long as a person gives their energy away and continues to give it away, whatever that person has in their mind about reaching some higher level to reach the higher heavens, it's not going to happen. Okay? People in the higher heavens just don't give their energy away. Why would they do that? It doesn't even make sense. So that's it for me. I'm done. Hope you enjoyed the show tonight. If there's any comments or questions that you have in the chat room, type them out. If there's any comments or questions in Zoom, I'll get to you here in a moment. I'm going to read some of the comments here. All right, one moment here. All right, so I'm reading some of the comments here. Okay, going up quite far. Many of you making many comments in the YouTube chat. Of course, many of you said no. You're also saying no all over the place. Okay, so Ancient says seers shouldn't discuss what's seen publicly. Correct. Is a Queen says scarcity is a social control. Oh no, she just no, sorry. Thanks for the super chat. Is a Queen. Anthony says scarcity is a social control mechanism. In this culture, it is what people believe in. For example, believing there's not enough material wealth in the world. You are correct, Anthony. Okay, this world is huge. There's more than enough material. Okay, there's more than enough to go around for everybody here. You all need to take the time. I used to show this in the it was a bit more detailed and a bit more of information that you're not going to find in the public. But still, you need to Google yourself how many wars have been happening since going back centuries, right? And when you see the multitude of people, millions and millions and millions of men, mostly, who have been eradicated, many of the ancient seeds were, and of course, that was all by design. Okay, that was planned out to get rid of those ancient seeds. Okay, from the old world. And man, this is so much. This is so many stories that could be told. But pretty much hundreds of millions of people have been wiped out. Maybe billions. Okay, billions of people. Way before we were even born. So the earth is not, if we can get into all this infrastructure, it's all just, it's literally his story. And if you believe his story, then you're engaged. You are engaged with it. Yes, you could be engaged not only with physical beings, physically, but you could even be engaged through thought forms, okay? Through belief systems. You can be engaged, which also creates loosh. So if you believe his story, that means you're engaged with it. If you believe it, you engage with that. You know what I'm saying? And it's going to take you on a ride. It's going to take you on this ride, and you got to take it to its end result. Okay? Hopefully, one could just jump off of that, because the end result of his story is not good, because it's his story. He wrote it. When you got here, I'm seeing people here. You got Ancient, you got Is a Queen, you got More Deep, you got Lynn, you got Antoine. Antoine has Antoine's story. Lynn has Lynn's story. Is a Queen has Is a Queen's story. More Deep has More Deep's story. Ancient has Ancient's story. I'm telling you, I have my story. I don't have his story. His story is who knows where it goes, and where it goes, what I'm seeing, I'll pass on it. But I know what my story is. Okay? So, let's continue on here. Continue on here. One person's clarity said, because we hold the white coats to a different standard and we have been programmed to believe they would not do anything that is not in our best interest. You are correct. Ends literally programming. Because if you look at literally, if you just take 2 seconds and go back to that Wikipedia article, when you read all that, one would literally ask themselves, why would I believe anything they say? I mean, anything. Even the CDC themselves is in there causing problems. So why would I believe anything any of these entities say? Again, it goes to, if you're holding them person in public office, they should be held at a higher standard. You only get one time to mess up. Only one time. And once you mess up, you're out. No questions asked, period. You're just out. That's how it will work in a world that is right side up. Okay? If a person's showing his weird draconian ways, the moment you mess up one time, you're out. It's no forgiveness. It's no second chance. You messed up, you're out. So let's continue on. One person said a lot of people don't trust themselves, so they listen to the white coats. You are correct. More deep mentioned the Benny Jesuit. Yeah, I know where you're going with that. I'm not gonna really get into that. That's a good one though. Moral Deep asks, who created the archons? Archons were created by the one, the demiurge. Okay, and so that's a little bit beyond, and it would take this conversation entirely into a different arena, and you know, that thought form is just too much for right now. So, but yeah, the demiurge created that thought form, those entities. All right. Oh yeah, Ancient even said here, not a conversation for YouTube. Yeah, pretty much. So you already said what I said already. All right. I'm just reading everybody here. Just bear with me. I'm reading the comments here. Okay, lots of comments. Okay, everybody pretty much is using their higher consciousness, I see. Okay. One person asks, I take it this is during when I was talking about the women's abilities. That's something that is so powerful that I cannot mention here on this public platform, because there are too many muwa currently. There are too many of people who are promoting negative thought forms and ratchetness. And so if they knew really how to tap into, which they don't, because if they did, it would be much, much, much worse. Okay, so and I'm not going to give them that key. Okay, but just know that the women's abilities, if they actually knew it, they wouldn't want to be a man at all. It's like, okay, what men do is nice, it's fantastic, but no, I'll pass. Okay, so yeah, so that's it. So again, if you so that's it for the YouTube. And so for those in the Zoom chat, if you want to verbally ask something or say something, join the Zoom chat if you're in the YouTube. And so in the Zoom chat here, is there anything else anyone wants to say? Because if not, we will end the show momentarily. So if anything you want to say, unmute your phone and you can start speaking. First come, first served.
I just want to say thank you so much for this opportunity tonight. You really brought it. You blew everything out of the water. I just would like to know, you speak about the women's abilities. Is there any way that we can find out more information offline in order to cultivate these abilities, learn about these abilities? And how would you suggest I would go about getting my younger nephew started? Maybe in something like Master Kleiman is involved with. I have that lessons book. Would I start from there, or what would you recommend?
Okay, so first to your first point, thank you very much for the kind words. Second, when it comes to a woman's ability, I'm not, offline, I doubt most people find it, because they did, they'll be doing it. So I would just say the most easiest thing is that since you're already meditating and everything else, there's nothing wrong with doing practices like what Master Kleiman has as a woman. There's nothing wrong with that. But in conjunction with that, just go deeper into your feminine nature. Okay? That's the only tip I would give any woman here who's listening. Without, if you come to a superhuman class, we go deeper into these things. But just go deeper into your feminine nature. If you don't know what that is, then first figure out what that is. Okay? If you come to the next, if we have another superhuman Pacific class offered, if you come to and you ask that, then I would tell you in so many words. But this is not for this public platform.
Okay, then I will see you next class.
And then when it comes to your nephew, how old is your nephew?
He'll be turning 4 this weekend.
Oh, okay. So 4 is, is too young for lessons, but he could start Gary Kleiman's stuff. He could actually start that. Okay, and in starting that, at 4 years old, by the time he's 20, he'll be doing potentially what Master Kleiman is doing. I'm saying with earnest effort, because at 4 years old, 20, you're talking about 16 years of, say, a meditation and practice. Oh yeah, especially at that age, because they believe they're a sponge. Okay, they're much more malleable than what we are. Okay, and so yeah, that would be something else. And about the time he's 30 or 40, he'll be doing what potentially what John Chang could do, literally. Because John Chang came from a society where they started as pretty much babies.
Well, I know that, like you said, when he's young, I can control him and shape him and persuade him better than if he were a much older nephew. Okay, thank you.
Very welcome. So I appreciate that. I do appreciate it. So before the next caller comes in, I'm going to play a testimonial. Okay, you made me. I was going to forget to play it, but when you came in and you, shared what you shared, and I appreciate those kind words, it made me think of a testimony that happened. For those who don't know, we get people who are happy that we are in existence, that we are happy. They are happy about what they have learned from Dr. Blair and myself. All day, every day, emails, text messages, phone calls, just literally to say thank you. And so here's a testimonial from someone literally from Monday, 2 days ago. This person called, and is a person who patronizes, a customer of the Meta Center, and she just felt she had to say something. She said much more than what I'm going to include here, but what I could include, I did. So listen here.
Okay. I am so proud of you. I am. I remember when you first actually got the center from Mr. Blair, you were so concerned about making sure everything is okay. Do you not realize that man is smiling on what you have done with your legacy and his? Oh my God, you are awesome. You really, really are.
Okay, so that came in on Monday. She said much more before that and after, but it got certain I couldn't include that. And so that happens all day, every day. And so those things do make me smile a bit. You know what I'm saying? Because it means that people are moving forward. Now, in some cases, they may move too fast, or some cases they may move too slow. Okay? But still, they're moving. Okay? They're just not staying stagnant. Okay? And accepting just negative behavior and stuff. You know what I'm saying? And so it means progress is happening, and that's why Dr. Blair entrusted me to do some very specific things, which I will, as we get older, and as time goes on, I will explain what those things were. Okay? But it's not for now. So But I just want to thank all of you. Okay, and so sometimes some of these shows we have are not just to yes, it's entertaining and everything else, but when we do a show like this, I have to provide information not only for those who are more advanced, but that's actually a smaller number of people. You know what I'm saying? Most people are not as advanced, and so for them to understand certain concepts and things, it just has to be shown a way that completely obliterates any negative thought forms and any doubt, right? And so that's why, for me, naturally, how I am, I was showing like the character from Dune, the movie Dune, okay, again, which you all should check out. I showed Darth Vader. I showed, all these different things and comparing them and showing this factual information because it makes it undeniable and it's entertaining, okay? So I do appreciate all of you all who do find it entertaining as well, but also see the importance of these thought forms. So, all right. So, anyone else here? Anyone else have any comment or question? Anything you want to share? Let's see. Miss Curvy in the YouTube side said, "Is the video going to stay up because I came in on the tail end?" Yes, of course. It will be up the moment the stream ends. It will be available for your consideration. Let's see here. Okay, so everybody's pretty much in alignment. Okay, so again, last call for tonight. Any other comments or questions anyone has? If you are in the YouTube side, you could type them out. If you're in the Zoom side, unmute your phone.
Hi, Tony. It's Cassandra. Just wanted to say thank you for this class. It gave me confirmation that I've always been told that I was the type of person that just cuts people off. But when I see BS, I don't engage in it or entertain it in any way. And at one point I thought I was like, okay, maybe I am being mean or whatever, but it's not. I mean, this class right here was point on class, just confirmation that I just have to keep on doing what I've been doing. So thank you.
Thank you. All right.
Yes, Queen. Yes.
All right. Thank you for your participation. All right. And so, so just make sure in life, right? It's like a for those who are listening who may take that what she said, right? Because that's her life, right? And may say, okay, I'm just gonna start cutting people off. No, just don't do that. Because that's like a sword, right? You want to be just careful the way you wield your sword. But at the same time, should you put up with BS and everything else? I wouldn't, and which leads me to something like this. Let me pull this up here. So,
a warrior would rather be defeated and die than act against his nature. We cannot learn by forgetting.
Okay. So, again, please, one more time.
A warrior would rather be defeated and die than act against his nature.
Okay, so a warrior rather be defeated and die than act against his nature. Okay, so, if something is taking you against your nature, now, of course, I'm assuming you are of a higher nature. I'm not going to even talk about or question those of a lower nature. Okay, so everybody here is of a higher nature. Again, we appeal to the crown chakra, okay, in the third eye. And so everybody here who's in alignment is of the crown chakra. We are having a crown chakra, third eye chakra conversation. That's what this is, okay? It's expressed through the throat chakra, and it shows empathy through the heart chakra, right? But the lower chakras, we don't really dive in, or the lower nature, okay? Because we should be, as humans, if you are a human, you should be above the lower nature, okay? And so you all are going to really like the future event. I'm talking about the one, it's not a superhuman class, but the one we're going to get into astrology. We're going to get into humanoid animals, levels of awareness. It's going to be, of course, an all-day session, probably 6 to 8 hours. And it's going to be fantastic. Okay, I'm working on it now for some time in the future. So Is a Queen just sent another super chat. Thank you much. The Muwa, Barbara, the Muwa is a book on the website. Okay, it's like $9.95. Okay, $9.95. And the muwa is the arch enemy of the empath. Okay, so the muwa is the arch enemy of the empath. If you don't know what that is, get the book. It's a short read, but it's very precise and to the point. Okay, so let's see here. Anthony said, you did a podcast a few months ago regarding tap water. How much chemicals are in water we drink? Could you provide a link we could go to? Can you please give that link? Yeah, it's ewg.org. Okay, so it was a podcast. Anthony's referring to a podcast we did a few months ago. It came from the herbology course. Okay, and so if you're interested in going deep into herbology, we have a herbology power session just like this, like every 2 weeks. Okay, and so if you go on the website, you purchase the herbology course. Not only will you get the course, and you could watch it, but there's homework assignments and stuff like that to take you further in herbology. And if you choose to, there's a test you can also take. Now, with that being said and done, that's part of that course that I shared publicly on the podcast. And it dealt with the chemicals in the water. And if you actually see how many chemicals in the water are there, it's very disheartening. Okay, the website is ewg.org. Okay, ewg.org. You want to click on once you go there, click on the link that's the tap water database or the water database or whatever. And when you click on it, you put in your zip code, and it's going to pull up at least the most current data about how many chemicals and the deadly levels of those chemicals that are in the water. Okay. All right. Oh, thank you, B1 Love. I appreciate the super chat. All right, y'all sending in a bunch of super chats. That's what I'm talking about. Appreciate it. So, nevertheless, I thank all of you for your participation tonight. Is there one last call? One last call before we get off the line. Any last comment or question? Okay, any last comment or question? Chime in now. Otherwise, we will have a conversation the next go round. Any last comment or question? Miss Curry mentioned, I do not like Chicago tap water. Unfortunately, Miss Curry, many of the water supplies across the United States are even worse. So it might not taste like it, but in most cases, they even have like uranium, which is radioactive isotope. But they have uranium in the water, okay, and stuff like that. Like we found that a lot in California. So anyhow, that's it for tonight, everyone. I appreciate everyone tuning in. We went, looks like about 3 hours, okay, tonight. This show will be up immediately after this for your consideration. And so, thank you much. And we will talk soon. So take care. All right.
One village.
What does that mean?
Where I'm from, every man and woman cares for every child. It is our duty to make sure every child is safe.